Welcome, travelers, to another episode of the Time Travel Trio podcast. I'm Jen.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Hyde.
And we're
The Time Travel Trio.
Yay!
Another episode.
Another episode.
Let's put it in the can.
Not yet.
I mean, you know.
We're putting it in the can.
putting it
In
in
the
the
process of
Yes.
canning in a factory.
But for you, you're uncanning it. You're opening it. So
Ooh, open this can of whoop ass like Laura Croft.
Oh,
Yes.
full circle.
Look how we did that.
Look how that looks on a podcast that you're listening to. Okay. I chose the 2001 film Lara Croft Tomb Raider, starring, of course, Angelina Jolie doing a British accent, Jon Voight, Ian Glenn, and, of course, Daniel Craig is in this movie. It's a fun movie, and I am really excited to talk about it.
yeah, and for once, a video game movie that actually isn't terrible.
Yeah, it's one of the. It's definitely on the more successful side of video game movie adaptations. It's a fun movie. I think it, brings part of the game to life
Yes.
with its own kind of developed story. So, you've never seen it?
I have not seen it. I think I've seen part of it just in my life. I knew that Chris Berry was in it, who's her butler. I know because I watched Red Dwarf, and he's like one of the main characters in that show. So I knew that he was in this movie, but I'd never seen it. But I knew the game series enough to be like, all right, if with a movie I can see that being translated pretty well, and it delivered. So
Yeah.
I saw this, I think, shortly after it came out on video. I don't think we didn't see the movie in theaters. I think our parents didn't want us to see it. They were worried it was going to be too sexualized, which maybe they thought that way when we were 11 years old. But now looking back, it's not a super.
It's really not that bad, actually.
Yeah,
it really
for what
isn't.
it could have been.
It's pretty tame,
Yeah.
especially now that superhero movies have gotten very popular, and there's all kind of the outfits and sexiness, both men and women of superhero films. This is kind of tame by comparison.
yeah, they don't really leer on her a lot. I mean, there's some back boob when she's facing away from the camera. But there's equal parts of her and Daniel Craig, so it's
Right.
fine.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about that because, woo, brother. But,
He's a handsome man.
I mean, though her boob is very highlighted and outlined in the poster that we're looking at, that's on IMDb. You can half of her boob is perfectly shaped with light.
Yeah, it's funny because when she was cast as Lara Croft, I remember there were some people saying that she didn't have the physique to be Lara Croft because Lara Croft's very busty, which is funny because Angelina Jolie actually looks pretty close, about as close as you can get in human form to Lara Croft.
Yeah.
Who also is a high caliber actress.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's a lot of controversy now because Alicia Vikander not only is very thin, but also doesn't have a lot going on in the chest part. But even though both Angelina Jolie and Alicia Vikander, when they took on Lara Croft, are Academy Award winners.
Yeah.
So, but I get it. I'm certainly not gonna not cast someone because you don't have the right bust line to play this character. Unless you're playing Power Girl, there's really nothing distinct about Lara Croft's chest. Does not affect anything with her character traits or personality.
That's true, yeah.
And also in the one that Alicia Vikander is doing, it's more natural character build that they made for that game.
Yeah.
But also, same deal with Gal Gadot, where people shit on her because she was too thin to be Wonder Woman. She was fine in that movie. You didn't think that she was weak. She was still strong. So
I think there's something to be said about stronger, dramatic actresses playing these action roles because they actually are able to bring more to it than just someone who is a stunt person more that can do the action but can't always necessarily bring the drama.
Yeah, or someone like Pamela Anderson who's there just to be a
exactly.
sex object.
And so I think even though this is 2001 and Angelina has done even bigger, broader, heavier dramas whatever since this, but you can still see that the touching moments of her with her father and when she
literally
but even in the beginning of the movie when she gets a letter and it's from her father, she does a good job. Her acting is maybe better than what the movie could have deserved. Yeah.
No, I think this is the problem that a lot of, because we talked about this with Prince of Persia, and Prince of Persia is also a movie that has a lot of high caliber actors in it.
Yeah.
But you can tell in Prince of Persia that the people making it have no real care about the characters or the video games that they're presenting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no passion in it. It feels very lifeless. This is a movie that is not necessarily, on a technical standpoint, better than anything like Prince of Persia has, but Angelina Jolie clearly understands that this is a character she has to nail correctly.
Yeah.
I mean, if she had done a really bad job as Tomb Raider, people would probably bring it up forever. It'd be like a George Clooney's Batman. Like, oh, George Clooney, he's won an Oscar, but remember when he was Batman?
Yeah. No, that's exactly true. And it feels like these people had fun, but they also took it seriously. Mm-hmm. And they knew that, like, you're right, she made sure she understood fully what this character entailed. Her British accent aside, like, that's probably my only, like, biggest gripe is, like, it feels fake. But that's also because I know that it's fake.
And compared to Jake Gyllenhaal's Cockney accent, I
it's definitely better.
Accent.
It's not the worst we've seen, for sure. No, and I'm not saying that. Yeah. But it's also, like, that she isn't British.
Yeah.
And, like, I mean, maybe 2001, you can get away with it a little bit more, but it's like, I don't know if people would have, threw an uproar if she wasn't super British. No. Maybe, but I don't know. Anyway.
It's also, this is before there's so many adaptations of video games and movies, too, so it was, like, a little bit more, people were more sensitive about it. Now, we've got freaking Thor Ragnarok's coming out, and you got Idris Elba playing Mjolnir, who in Norse mythology, not Mjolnir, what's his face? Heimdall. Who in Norse mythology is considered super fair-skinned. It's actually something that's a part of his character analysis. And then you also have Tessa Thompson, who I love, and I think is going to do a good job. She's going to play Valkyrie, who is literally the Nordic symbol of, like, beauty and warrior strength. So you have a black woman playing, like, that character.
Yeah.
So clearly we've gotten to the point now where we're like, not British, who cares?
Yeah, right, which is kind of nice. And you're right, I think, Alicia Vikander is actually British, so right. I'm sure that she probably will have that accent, but if she wasn't, they probably wouldn't. I don't know, whatever, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, I like this movie. It's really fun. I have it on DVD. I watch it every few years or so, I'd say. I haven't seen it in a while, but it's a fun action movie, and I enjoy it. I've seen it probably 5 or so times in my life, maybe more, but it's fun. She's a badass character who can hold her own, and, she doesn't take shit from people. She's independent and strong and, like, smart and logical, and I really like that about her, but she's also, I like that in this movie, she also brings, like, a sensitive side that, like, she still is trying to get over the loss of her father and that kind of thing. So, and that kind of makes her relatable and a little bit more grounded. So I really enjoy this movie in general. So I'm excited to talk about it. So with that, let's watch the trailer.
We are running out of time. And if we fail, we must wait another 5,000 years.
Well, I don't know about you, but that's more time than I'm prepared to commit to this enterprise.
This summer, the planets will align.
It was the Illuminati who swore to bring their ancestors back to life.
Time will stand still.
Have you ever heard of the Clock of Ages?
It gives its possessor power of the light.
And the fate of mankind
Eternal hell revives!
will rest in the hands of one.
Don't start.
You're quite an authority on things ancient and mythological.
That's why I travel. It's an ancient clock. It was hidden in a secret room. It glows, but it's getting brighter, like it's counting down to something.
You can build, destroy, move back and forth through time.
The future is yours now, Lara. We're the only one with the strength to destroy the power of the light.
We can be partners.
You might try to kill me.
I'm not going to kill you.
I said you'd try.
Time to save the universe again, then, is it?
Absolutely.
June 15th, the biggest adventure of the summer begins. Angelina Jolie is Lara Croft.
This is where I start to have fun.
Tomb Raider.
There's a lot of lines in that movie or in that trailer that weren't in the movie.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
There's a decent amount. There's more about time in that trailer than in the movie.
It's true. It's funny. I think it is probably something that they had these scenes shot and edited, and in editing, they like trimmed it down.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it doesn't seem like they did what Marvel like to do, where they do fake lines, they combine lines. It seems like they actually were said.
It's like scenes that. And, the context, okay, I know that I've seen her in that scene, whatever, in part of the movie, but she didn't actually say those things.
Right.
So, but that's kind of fun.
It's actually
it's a good
one
trailer.
of the better trailers we've watched. I mean, minus the font.
And the sky, the beginning of that building, and then the sky turns from gray to, bright orange is weird, but yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the better trailers.
And considering this is for a video game, in 2001, that's exactly what you wanted to see. You wanted to see her in the tomb with these people, and, some myth, some supernatural stuff with, the statues and all that stuff. So, I mean,
Yeah, it's cool. And so, of course, the villains in this movie are the Illuminati.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fun.
Who Ian Glenn is, he was in, he's in Game of Thrones still, currently. But
really?
Yeah, he's the guy that loves Daenerys. He had, the weird
he's in the
scale
friend zone.
skin.
Jorah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Friendzone.
He had the Grey Worm. He had the Grey Worm.
The Grayscale.
Grayscale.
Yeah.
Grey Worm. Grayscale.
And Noah Taylor, who...
This is his trilogy, actually.
Is his trilogy?
Yeah, he was at Edge of Tomorrow and Predestination.
Oh, he was in Predestination.
Whoa.
Hey.
Yeah.
Another time travel trilogy for Noah Taylor. Congratulations.
Noah Taylor.
He made it.
Man, that's pretty good because there's not many people in Predestination.
Yeah,
so.
I know, seriously. I thought it was funny, too, because I'm also watching Preacher, and he's Hitler in that, so I was like, oh yeah, I recognize his face from recently.
I mean, to be fair, he's a pretty versatile actor. These things. He was in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that's right, he's also in Game of Thrones, too.
So technically that's
Blinders.
4. Yeah. Wow, he's a pretty good... Alright, anyway, so...
Congratulations, Noah Taylor.
You're welcome to the club. It's, it's some pretty... familiar faces. Daniel Craig, of course, is in this movie.
And John Voight.
Daniel Craig has a very strong American accent that sometimes is
it's not American.
It's very American.
No, it's like a.
No, he is not British. I promise.
No, it's like a South African-ish kind of it's not an American accent.
I don't know. I disagree. I think he's American, but American who learned it because he watched TV and movies kind of thing. So he's very hey Laura, what's up? It's weird. It sounds a little weird.
His voice does sound very off in this movie.
It's off because I'm used to hearing him as James Bond with an actual British accent. But I don't think he was doing a Western no accent voice.
It was. Yeah, it was.
I definitely heard an accent during some words.
All right.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is that sometimes he would have certain twangs. He didn't ever go British, but
right.
he was very American. His voice was very American.
I want our listeners to tweet us or post on our Facebook what accent you think he was.
Either way, it was a fake accent.
Yeah.
It's just so strange that you make a British person not be British in a movie about British people.
And the American person British. Yeah, I know. He could have... Right, that's what I don't understand. He could have been British and it would have been fine. Because Powell was American.
Right.
And that was fine. So, I don't know. There's a lot of British people in this movie, actually, now that I think about it. Yeah, John Voight, as we mentioned, who is, in case for some reason you don't know, John Voight is Angelina Jolie's actual father in real life, and so it was kind of fun. He played her father in this movie, which I always thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, I don't think they've ever done that before other than this.
No, I agree. And it adds, I don't know, it adds almost just knowing that adds a little bit more to it.
Yeah.
And they're both such strong actors.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the scene that they had together. That we'll play that clip in a little bit.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So let's get right into the time travel. So in this movie, there's this triangle of light that has the power to control time. And so a long time ago, they show kind of a flashback of Egypt, maybe, or temples, or wherever
Well,
it is.
it's in Russia. Well, no, unless the crater they're at is in the temple.
It's not.
Okay, they traveled to that where it used to be.
So they split it in half.
Yeah, they split it in half and
then
dispersed it on opposite ends of the world.
Okay,
which is actually not, because Cambodia and Siberia are not opposite ends of the world.
Yeah,
no.
But farther away from Egypt.
Pretty far away.
Yeah, but I think it's unclear where the City of Light was.
Yeah,
but at some point, once the triangle is put back together, they arrive. They transport to it somehow. But yeah, basically.
Anyway, so there's a flashback of them, these people who had this power from a meteor that, I think they said a meteor that crashed down
during an alignment.
Yeah, during the alignment, and they used the rock of it, and they made this thing that had the power to control time. But then people ended up abusing it. And so they decided it was best to not let anyone have this power.
It destroyed the city.
Their city, but
yeah, and then they destroyed it.
Which I guess makes sense, but
which that's where the monkey statues come alive and all that jazz. They're guarding it. I think that was one of the cities that was destroyed, or the city that it was from.
Yeah, or I guess that city maybe built those temples and things to protect it. I guess.
Yeah, that's what I understand.
So I mean, I guess that makes sense for the first one, but the second one, there isn't really anyone protecting it. It's just kind of
this
buried a little bit more. But
yeah, it's like a planetary rotating orb situation.
Yeah, but it's kind of cool because the idea is that you can only get these pieces in a full alignment. So all the planets are aligned, which happens, I guess, I don't know if this is accurate, once every 5,000 years. Yeah, I don't think so.
Well, I mean, on that quick note, I guess, first of all, the planetary alignment, it can't actually happen that way because the planets are in different planes, so they're within a certain degree radius of the actual plane of the Earth. So it's not a straight line. It would be up and down. It would, they wouldn't actually align to anything. But they could be within a certain number of degrees of each other. And I saw varying numbers on how often that happens, but roughly within a certain degree radius of where we are, it can happen, but not in the way that the movie showed it, and it certainly has no scientific significance at all to anything. So
yeah, but in the movie, that's the logic, is that
exactly.
That's how it happens, and fine, it's it's not that insane.
It's Tomb Raider.
Yeah, exactly, it's Tomb Raider.
Yeah, you need some supernatural.
There's
thing.
Statues that come alive. You can. Stretch things a little bit.
Hercules lied to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do dig the Illuminati and the planetary alignment. As far as fake things to happen it's not even science. It's it's supernatural-ish, fantasy-ish kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I dig it because it's the Illuminati, which is always a thing that's been around that people think is real or whatever. And then planetary alignment, obviously, is big with astrologists, or is that the people that do what's your sign? Astrology? Yeah. It's big with them. So, sure, yeah. I can suspend my disbelief to think that could...
Yeah, it's not that much of a fault, I'd say, for this movie.
Yeah.
And so they get the first piece during the
first stage.
No, the first stage is her
clock.
finding the clock in her house that belonged to her father in this hidden room under the staircase.
Yeah.
Which very Nancy Drew, but I dug it. So, and then the second, so she makes the mistake. There's actually a deleted scene, which I'm only bringing up because it kind of connects. The first time I saw this movie, I hadn't put this together. Granted, I was maybe 12 at the time. So if you guys have already figured this out and this is duh, then forgive me. But there's a deleted scene that she visits this guy named Wilson who was friends with her father, shows him the clock and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't help you. And then later that night, he's like, oh, actually, there's this guy that you should talk to, whatever. So Wilson actually worked with Powell. I don't know if you guys made that connection, but Wilson, and he knew that Powell was a bad guy.
Yeah.
So that's why when he hangs up, he says, forgive me. And then there's a deleted scene of Powell actually killing Wilson. That's not in the movie.
Okay. Yeah, no, I gather that Wilson told Powell, and then he felt bad because he was looking at a picture of himself with Laura's father. I was like, oh, well then obviously he Either he had his hands tied or, like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's unclear whether or not he works for the Illuminati. And
I would say he probably did. If he was friends with his father was in the, or
Okay.
her father was in the Illuminati too.
Okay.
Powell's in the Illuminati. I would say it's probably a safe
Right.
assumption to say he also was in the
He's
Illuminati.
like, the greater
Was-
powers at work here. my
Was
dear.
probably trying to distance himself, and that's maybe why he kind of regrets it more.
yeah, but I'm
But-
sure they have it. I'm sure
yeah.
they have him under their thumb anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he was kind of like forced to tell them about
Right.
it.
So Powell's the bad guy, obviously. And after Laura shows him a picture of the clock, then he tries to steal it from her house. Blah 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 blah. That's a really cool scene. I don't want to like skip over that.
No, it's really well
It's
designed.
it's really cool. It's this, you know, heist fight scene in her house where they're like, some people are trying to steal this clock that's like in this room, and
she has defense.
and she's also like, it's just her, but she's really strong. Yeah, she has defense in this giant castle that she lives in, which, like, wow, but okay. And she's also, there's, like, people trying to shoot at her, and, you know, it's one of those things that she gets shot at a lot by a lot of different people, never has any scratches on her, pretty much.
Well,
so
yeah, but it's also believable because she's jumping around on these like bouncy wires, so it's like
she is,
you know
but
what I
like
mean?
even like aside from when she's like hanging from the ceiling, like even when she's running around, when she's in the garage with all the cars, there's a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of guns that are
Yeah.
there's a lot of bullets that come at her.
But, I mean, it's like I said, she's just a female James Bond. Like,
Yeah.
and until the Daniel Craig and kind of Pierce Brosnan iterations of James Bond, like James Bond rarely takes damage,
Yeah.
like real damage. So it's like, you know,
Okay.
you can kind of buy it.
Okay.
She's skilled.
Yeah. So they steal the clock, and then she meets them at this first temple place, which is where they get the first half of the triangle, right? And so there's two halves of the triangle, and yeah. So they basically end up having to work together, and then so that's the second stage of the alignment, is when they're able to, long story short, blah. I didn't mean to like explain the whole movie, but
yeah, I was like, why?
we're here now.
Stop doing this.
No, but it was more just like to get to the stages of the alignment. So the second stage is where they get the triangle, and then I guess the third stage is the final stage.
I don't know.
They don't really talk
Yeah.
about it, and that's where they get the other half in Siberia. So
And the planets align.
yeah, cool. So she also has to drop this piece of sand to get it to
No,
work.
I
From her cleavage?
no.
For cleavage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I took that as the thing was in two pieces, except for this last little bit that was put in the clock, and she figured it out. She knew that like because she like saw it, she sensed something about the thing. So I think the last piece of the triangle was a little bit of piece that was in the clock that she used the time storm to open up, and then she plugged it in there and added it to it
Okay.
because it like fit in a little hole, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it. I think that's the last little bit.
But how does it work? So like you just hold this triangle once it works, and then it
I don't know. I mean,
takes you wherever you think of going.
yeah, I guess it grants you the power to control time.
It doesn't. I get that she wants to see her father, but if she could access the past or the future, wouldn't she go back to the past when he was killed? And
Well, that's what the whole scene with them was. She was like, "I want to do this," and he's like, "No, you can't. You can't change time."
yeah,
But so it is almost out of their control because when it is like actually put together, she and Powell touch at the same time. They get sent, or no, it comes together. It engulfs them in like this orb. They're sent to the pyramid, and it's on top of the pyramid, and they run up. And I think she like grabs it first,
Yes.
and then she controls it, and then she ends up meeting her father.
So how did it work when the power was readily available to these people? I don't know what type of people they were back before they destroyed it.
I mean,
how did they
I
use
think
it?
I think they're purposely vague on it because they don't want you to know.
Yeah.
I mean, my imagine is that they would use it probably to
Stock market.
To play
ancient
the
stock-
lottery.
Yeah.
But no, probably to build things faster, to like have a mastery of like winning battles and wars, like you know,
Yeah.
kind of like Edge of Tomorrow style.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
they
mean-
seem like a pretty advanced society. If they
To be
were
able to create that, for sure.
yeah, and travel across the world and have these other things. So I'm sure they like, and I'm sure it helped them like just become an advanced society. And then it failed, I guess, and it destroyed a lot of their city. And then they were like, all right, let's stop using this.
Yeah, and so she, after everything, destroys it too at the end.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. She like shot it and like disintegrated.
It like exploded into a
Shattered.
million pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I don't know.
Lara Croft's double pistols are the most powerful thing in her video game universe. So
Okay,
but it's like
that checks out, I guess.
But like, if it did shatter into pieces, someone could still sweep it up. Oh no, I guess where it was falling apart too. That temple.
Yeah,
and it was like I was getting flooded with water.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's
good
no
luck.
way you could put those pieces back together.
Yeah.
That's true. There was water. There was rubble everywhere.
So like, F you, Illuminati.
Yeah. Why did the Illuminati want it?
Because they're the Illuminati.
For the same reason.
Aren't they going to use it to like resurrect? Like, weren't they going to use the power to like
Oh,
resurrect
yeah.
some like old members?
Yeah, that was in the trailer, but I don't remember that in the movie.
I think they might have mentioned it in the beginning.
Okay.
It's something about resurrection or
Yeah.
immortality.
Right, but I mean, the Illuminati, that's their whole deal. They want just weird, crazy powers. I'm sure it's equivalent to like the Nazis in Tomb Raider or Indiana Jones, where they just want this like crazy power.
Who knows? We can weaponize it somehow.
Yeah,
for sure. Okay,
sure.
so that's fair. So that's kind of the how, I guess, more or less, from what we can gather. The rules, too, are kind of the same thing. It's kind of, if it works, you hold it, and then you can go wherever you want. So she visits her father.
Yeah, the way
And
he
I want to play that scene.
right, yeah.
So before we talk about it.
Lara,
Is this real?
it is a crossing of my past and your present.
Why did you not tell me about the Illuminati?
You were only a child.
You could have written in your journals. You never mentioned it, not once.
Lara, I burst to tell you everything. But in the fierceness of my own battles, I strove to tell you only that which would inspire you and keep you safe. I love you so much.
But I've missed you.
And I've missed you. I know why you came here. Why you took the power of the light. This must not happen.
Why? Why can't we use the power just this once? Why can't you stay?
We can't change time.
But time was stolen from us. And it's not fair.
No, it's not fair. But you have stolen time itself. And you must give it back. You must destroy the triangle.
Suddenly I feel so alone.
You're never alone. I'm with you always, just as I've always been.
So, I don't know if I just missed it in that clip, but at one point he says it's a crossing of
Life and death.
Of past and future. Of his past and her future, or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I wrote that down in my notes. But basically...
Yeah, well, he said it in that.
Okay, yeah I couldn't remember if I just didn't hear it. But,
yeah, so that was real. Like, I feel like she actually did visit him at some point, and like...
Okay.
It's unclear whether or not he knew that. Like, you know, if that changed anything, you know? But regardless, even if she didn't the first time, and then she just did then, and he... Whatever. It didn't, like, impact anything.
I mean...
If anything, it showed him, her as an adult.
Yeah, that's true. I do kind of wish we would have seen if there were implications to that, because even like maybe what kind of sparked it of him writing that thing in the book.
Right.
Yeah.
That would have been interesting.
That would have been kind of cool.
It's kind of like Men in Black 3, where the ending... Spoiler for the ending of Men in Black 3 if you have not seen it. At the end of Men in Black 3, because Will Smith, Agent J, sees what happens to Agent K younger, it changes how he sees his relationship with Agent K now, and it also changes Agent K because he knows what's going to happen. He becomes a little more laid back in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of cool to see the cause and effect. That's one thing I really like about some of these time travel movies, is that after the time travel happens, we can kind of see the effect and the changes compared to how it was. And that would have been nice to see if there was actually, if all of this was kind of like a giant loop almost.
Right.
Like, did she always do that? So, you know?
Yeah, it would have been cool if there was, like, after all this stuff happened, like, maybe he had some contraption that would spit it out after the alignment to say, like, when I was younger before, you know, all this stuff, before I wrote all these notes to you, I saw you as an adult. and that told me to write these stuff down because I know that you needed the information to find the thing for it to happen because I saw you, like it could have been that kind of deal. But obviously they didn't get that far into it, but that could be what happened,
Yeah.
Because he wrote all the clues for her to find the stuff.
Yeah, and so it would make sense because he knows that she does get it.
Yeah.
Otherwise she wouldn't be there. And so it would make sense that he would tell in that way that he would then tell her
Here's how to
all
find
the
it.
things that she would need to know. So
I mean, I buy it. That's headcanon for me.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. And I like the idea of thinking about it like a time loop. Like, she goes back in time to see him, and he then experiences that, and then makes it so she can go back in time. After that, then she goes back to the present in the Siberian temple and ends up actually saving Alex West, which actually led me to the question of, doesn't that also change time?
Yeah, but
technically?
I think the reason, I think they could physically change time, but her saving her father would change too many things. Right. But I think since it just happened and like it wouldn't affect anyone else except for him, like I think he said you can't change time because he's like, you shouldn't, like you don't have, it's not in your,
it's not,
you shouldn't have the power to change time. Yeah. But in this case, just go back like a minute and save Daniel Craig. Like, why not? Yeah,
I mean, he's Daniel Craig's people, so
right.
I get it.
But it was cool seeing her.
Plus, it gives her the upper hand in the situation.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
it was cool seeing her walk in slow-mo as time was rewinding, though. And she, spun the knife around.
That was cool. I liked when she has to, turn the knife, and she struggles a lot. Because it
cuts her hand.
It cuts her hand, and it's, it's hard to, change the direction of it. It's not just, flip it and it's easy. It's, it's a challenge because it's already intending to go that direction in motion, and so she has to reverse it. So
I thought that was cool that it actually had some resistance to it. You couldn't just willy-nilly
shoot him. And I like that she did that instead of just shooting Powell and moving him out of the way. That would have been kind of an easy solution to just pick up Alex and move him 3 inches to the left,
right.
Or whatever, and shoot Powell. But she didn't do that, so that was cool. And and then she saves the day, shoots the triangle as we mentioned, and there you go. So she does use it to change something, but she doesn't use it to change what she really wants to change because apparently that's not the right thing to do.
Yeah, it would change way too many things. Which, I don't know. It's like a moral thing. She has the power to do it, but she shouldn't.
If she did it, would it change all of her memories, or would he just suddenly appear in the present?
I don't know. I mean, they didn't do it, so it's hard to say. I mean, we can come up with different theories of what would happen, but again, unless someone actually wrote it in the movie, then it's just us talking about it.
Speculating. I mean, based on the negative side effects of it, I'm going to guess that she would have memory of that she had changed things. Mm-hmm. Because you have to be kind of aware that you're changing things to understand that, we should not have this power.
Yeah, and it could have changed too much that it would have not led to her getting the triangle and becoming a Tomb Raider and getting the triangle in the first place, which would be a whole other thing. If she never gets it, then he never goes back, and that's a whole confusing loop.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
I did want to talk about time storms.
Oh, yeah. Which is a cool term.
It's funny.
Just give it that.
No,
I mean, it's lame, but it's a time storm is kind of a cool idea.
It's a little weird because the way it's portrayed, it's like a bubble that they see. But
I wouldn't call it a time storm.
Right. But it's weird because when a dog goes through it, we see it through his skin, we kind of, but it doesn't kill him. He runs through and he's fine. So, but then when she throws the clock in the key clock thing, it opens up and expands into separate parts. So I guess for the clock, it expanded to when it was being made. So it was each piece individually laid out. Mm-hmm. But then with the dog, why is it?
Shouldn't the dog break apart too?
Yeah, or turn into a puppy. But why did it just remove his skin and then or I guess you saw through his fur? I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense because the dog was also in motion going through the time storm.
Right, and he kept going.
And so was the clock, though.
But the clock
stopped. So that's kind of a flaw.
Yeah, it's movie stuff, you know. But it is a little what?
Yeah, it is a little crazy. But I do actually like that we can have these I like movies that, even if they don't super expand upon some of the time things that they bring up, that we can kind of speculate, like, what if this could happen? Like, that we can kind of branch out and make it more based on some of the things that they gave us is always kind of fun.
It's funny because when we realized that Tomb Raider was a time travel movie, it's funny, I've seen this movie a couple of times, at least 3 or 4 times, and I've never thought of it as a time travel film. I know time travel happens in it, but I never really thought about it that way, because the movie, it's an adventure movie. It's like an Indiana Jones movie. It's like a James Bond movie. It's, which I wish we would get more of. I know I've talked about this before on this show. I wish we get more adventure movies, like The Mummy with Brendan Fraser and stuff, because there's something fun about regular people just using their wits and exploring and, like, finding, like, all these, like, hidden, like, temples and societies and fun, clues.
Yeah.
Like, that's a very fun genre.
I'm glad that they're doing another one of these that's going to come out soon, because I think hopefully that'll be fun. It's good to have female leads and stuff like that. But no, you're right. That is always fun to have movies like that. And really it was, I'm the same way as you said, like, I didn't think of this movie as a time travel movie, and neither did I. And even, like, when we first started this podcast and looked up, like, lists and lists and lists of time travel movies, so to make sure we could, like, cover everything and things we haven't thought of, this movie was never on anyone's list, for sure. But it was when I was watching Prince of Persia, and I texted you, and I was like, holy shit, Tomb Raider, we can do it, it's time travel, and you were like, wait, really? Oh my god, wait, yes, oh my god. And so that was really exciting, because it's kind of, there were things about that happened in Prince of Persia that reminded me a little bit of this. This movie obviously is stronger than that movie, but,
Yeah, this movie, like, it is kind of, it almost falls in the same category as a movie that introduces time travel at the end, but, like, at least in this movie, they build up to it. It's like, we know the Thane has his power. So, and if we accept that, like, her traveling to the past, talking to her father, set up the events, then it's even more appropriate. But it is more than just a Galaxy Quest, where it's like a Deus Ex Machina device,
Right.
Yeah, like, it could have been, they want this device, and the device does something else, but then they use time travel to somehow get something for this device.
Right.
But instead, it's like the device itself can control time. So you're right, it is more, and it actually, watching it for this was more time, references than I remembered it
felt
being.
more relevant than watching Prince of Persia, where we're just like, all right, let's wait an hour to see more of this.
Yeah, Matt, I'm with you, because it's like, we complained about how Prince of Persia, like, there's not a lot of time travel. And this one, there's not a lot of time travel, but they do very cool stuff with time travel. They definitely get their mileage out of it.
And it is the goal. It's like, the goal is to get this triangle that controls time, and that's the goal throughout the movie, so it's kind of nice.
Right. It's like if Prince of Persia was like, everyone's just trying to get the dagger. Instead of, I have the dagger, now...
Use it twice, and then it's unusable for an hour.
Yeah. I liked in this movie, too, how at the end, like, as much as Powell's a bad guy, I kind of respected him a little bit at that final scene where that annoying old white man was, which, like, every single movie we've ever done on this podcast has just an annoying old white man in a leadership position. Like, find me one that doesn't, and I will be surprised. But he's like making this big grand speech as he's like slowly putting the halves of the triangle together and whatever. And Paolo's just like, oh my god, enough. And then his people, like 8 of them all shoot him at once, and he just like falls. And it's just kind of one of those moments that's like kind of funny. That
it kind of subverts the genre a little bit, like, because usually the villain makes it like this grand speech about how important it was. He's like, dude, we've waited so long to do this.
Oh my god, just go. Who cares? Like
we're running out of time. Like, Lara Croft is like on her ass.
But it also follows with his character, because he's someone who would A, want to do it himself anyway, and B, he wouldn't want his boss to have this power when he wants this power himself. Right. So it kind of follows with his character, I felt like. So that was just a fun moment that I enjoyed.
Well, it also was alluded to when he like threw the dagger at the triangle with Laura did it. Like you can already tell he was kind of not like, oh, Illuminati's my thing. He's like, it's for me. This is my deal. Like,
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, this is his project, and he doesn't, he's in the Illuminati, but he also seems separate from them.
Yeah, he's definitely his own.
He's his own person doing his own things, somewhat in line with what they want, but it's also he's very self-serving.
Yeah, I mean, they help him get to his goal, and that's as much as he wants to use them for.
Well, he's goal-oriented, so
Yeah.
give him that. Yeah. Let's talk about sexy Daniel Craig.
Yeah. It's funny because he looks so different in this movie than he did in the James Bond movie where he comes out of the ocean shirtless.
Oh, yeah.
Because in that movie, he's way more, like, beefed up. But in both ways, he still looks like... He still looks great.
He's still ripped. In this movie, though, he's, like, skinny ripped.
Yeah.
And in James Bond, he's, like, muscular ripped.
Yeah,
like
true.
Beefy ripped, you know what I mean? Not
Which is like, what, 10 years apart?
But...
Or like...
Yeah, about 10 years.
Yeah, I
so
guess
it's
so.
crazy.
Yeah, wow.
So, maybe not quite 10 years, because it came out... But
Casino Royale, 2008?
2007?
I don't know, let me
I
look.
want to say 2007 is when Casino Royale came
Mm-hmm.
out. And... Dude, I mean, Daniel Craig, it's so funny because, like, I always will see Daniel Craig, like, pop up in these old movies. I'm like, that's Daniel Craig. 2006.
2006. Okay,
Oh, wow.
so that's
5
not
years.
that's 5 years, and that's not that much, so, wow.
But yeah, like, when he came, that's true. When he came out of the water in James Bond, like, even me.
Fun fact,
Like,
wait,
literally men and women in the audience.
Pause, guys. The last movie we did, Slipstream, Ivana Milicevic, whatever,
Milicevic.
the FBI woman, Milicevic, thank you, from Slipstream is in Casino Royale. So that's like 2 degrees of
separation.
Daniel Craig. I just like saw her. I was like, wait, that's her. I know that face.
That's so funny.
I just had to watch an hour and a half of that face.
But yeah, no. Daniel Craig coming out as James Bond, like, shirtless, it's like... Because it's funny, everyone forgets, much like Angelina Jolie taking on Laura Croft, when Daniel Craig took on James Bond, people did not want him as James Bond.
No,
he was
blonde, right?
Right, he was blonde, he was seen as a pretty boy.
He's gorgeous.
And then he literally came out, like the opening scene, he is James Bond. But when that scene happened, when he comes out, everyone was like, this dude is like legit.
I mean, like men and women equally got wet during that scene.
That was definitely the moment for me when I was like, okay, I don't know who this guy is, but I love him and he's great. So in Tomb Raider, I mean, but yeah, it's there's some really fun like behind the scenes photos on the Lara Croft Tomb Raider IMDb page. It's like her like standing with crew members and stuff is kind of funny. So
it looks like she had a fun time doing this movie.
It does. I mean, this is 16 years ago. Like she was fairly young. You know, there's all these press photos. It's kind of fun
before Brad Pitt, right?
This is
way before Mr. and Mrs. Smith. That's for sure.
That's crazy. It's so interesting. You know, say what you will about Angelina Jolie and the whole like Jennifer Aniston thing, but like, man, Angelina Jolie puts her money where her mouth is kind of person. Like, she's like, I'm going to do this stuff for kids and like impoverished people, and she does it. She's made very smart movies. She's actually kind of emerged as a pretty competent director and producer.
Yeah, I don't get the sense that she's like some way out of touch, A-lister. I feel like she actually,
she seems like someone who's actually a mom to her kids as much as she can be.
Yeah.
Not just like hire a nanny to take care of your kids.
Well, fun fact about Angelina Jolie, what she does with a lot of the kids that she's adopted, she makes an agreement with them, like, you're going to go back to your home country when you become an adult after you get an education and help your communities. So it's not like you're just going to come here, get a great life. She's like, I want you to go back, like if you're going to med school, I want you to go back and help become like a doctor and help improve the medicine or the infrastructure.
It's like, I'll pay for you to go to medical school, but you're going to use it to help your own family, people.
Your community.
Yeah.
It's like a lifelong internship that, like a live-in internship until you're old enough to, like, go out into the world.
That's pretty badass, though.
Yeah.
Like, to do that and to want to, like, teach your kids that, like, yeah, you can have money and fame and success, but, like, if you don't use it to help others and to, like, spread good, then what's the use?
Right.
Like,
you're just another rich kid.
Don't be that. Yeah, don't be Jaden Smith. No offense, Will Smith, but Jaden Smith is kind of an a-hole, and everyone kind of knows it.
To be fair to Jaden Smith, he has been starting to turn around, I've noticed. I think
he should have never been around in the first place. Oh my god. He needs to... I remember that meme where it's like, Jaden Smith needs to star in a reboot of Fresh Prince, but, like, for real.
Yeah. He needs an Uncle Phil in his life.
Yeah, or no, it was like a reverse Fresh Prince to, like, he's too. Oh, that's what it was. He's too used to like living in these like fancy homes. He needs to like go live on the streets in Philly. Yeah,
yeah. He needs to be a show where Carlton goes to live with Will Smith. And
he definitely learned nothing from Jackie Chan in the Karate Kid.
The Karate Kid reboot. Well, yeah, let's not talk about that. We're having a good time talking about Lara Croft.
You're right. Focus up.
She looks great. Angelina Jolie's having so much fun.
Yeah, it's just a fun... I think it goes back to, like, what you were just saying, that they look like they're having fun in these behind-the-scenes photos. And it kind of comes across in the movie. It's more fun than something like... Like, I don't imagine there's a ton of photos of Jake Gyllenhaal hanging out, laughing with people on the set of Prince of Persia. Not that he's not a fun guy to do that, but like it just doesn't really seem like that's the kind of movie that like people would do that.
It didn't seem like they were having fun when you see the finished product. I honestly feel like you can tell when people, even if it's a serious movie, you can tell when the people there are either together as a team or at least having fun on it.
Yeah.
I feel like you can always tell when people are like, oh, well, we had to do this, we were contractually obligated to do this film.
I mean, it was fun, and the action is good. Like, we just watched Slipstream, and that action is horrible, and this action is, like, fun. Like, she's jumping around, she's shooting people.
Yeah, it's easy to watch.
There's
it's
statue
fantastical,
monsters.
but it's not outlandish. There's statue monsters, which is kind of fun.
I dig it.
Yeah, there's, like, there's things that you have to, like, figure out in these temples.
There's even a boss character, like, the big crazy statue thing comes alive and has, like, 6 arms.
That's true.
I'm like, the boss fight.
That's true. They should have the boss fight without being cheesy.
The people who wrote this movie and made this movie really took the time and the care to understand this beloved video game series. Because it really is, I would say it is beloved. And people really do enjoy it. And I think it comes across of them being like, look, we're making a movie and we understand it's going to be a little bit different than the game. But here's all these things that you liked. It's action. It's a hot girl. It's whatever. And I think that they did an overall good job. And we're saying nice things, but
I mean, Simon West, the director, he did a good job, and I loved the Tomb Raider games. I was not allowed to play the Tomb Raider games as a kid because
she's too booby.
Well, it wasn't that she was too booby; it just had a reputation about that. When you actually go back and think about it, Lara Croft doesn't wear any skimpy clothes really.
It's also very pixelated, so you can't.
Yeah,
it's all imagination.
I mean,
anyways.
if I want to, in that sense, talk about Legend of Zelda because those fairies have the most like massive pointy boobs that are like a shirt of itself. It's like
Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, they're like these. I don't even know how to explain it. Like they're not normal boobs, but they're gigantic.
Right. Very
and like
pointy.
they're huge and outrageous.
They're jagged. Some would say.
Jagged boobs.
Sure, in like a skin tight like fairy shirt.
It's like leaves on their body, which in the new Zelda Breath of the Wild, they're more full figured, but they still have the leaf boobs, but they're like obviously rounder. But this the same deal. They're like they're just wearing leaves.
So it's like boobs are boobs.
It is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, I get it. There's definitely a point where you don't want to like objectify people, but Lara Croft is the hero. Mm-hmm. She's in control.
She's a badass.
Yeah.
She's independent. She's strong. She can fight. She doesn't need a man to save her. Ever.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
Like, and I'm sure, Matt, you probably, or Hyde, I'm sure you think about this too. Compared to, like, someone like Xena, who is also, like, sexualized, but you don't feel like they're taking advantage of her because they own it. It's like, no, this is her sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, women watching it, they don't think, oh, she's being objectified. They think, oh, yeah, this is a badass woman who's sexy. Like, embrace her sexiness.
There is a big difference between a character like Wonder Woman or Black Widow, whose sexuality is part of their power. Because let's be honest, like Captain America, Wolverine, their sexuality is part of their power.
Yeah.
Their sexual prominence is just different, but it doesn't make it any more powerful or less or more demeaning. Mm-hmm. However, if you look at something, say, like, what's the movie that we saw recently? I'm trying to think of a movie done on the show where, like, their sexuality is done in a demeaning fashion.
Mostly every movie.
Yeah, I mean, look at Prince of Persia with the princess.
Yeah.
Like, she has no agency. Literally, one of the key points is that there's sand, as one of our favorite new terms, sand cleavage sand. It's like, clearly she is not meant, even though she's not as bad as some movies can be, she's clearly not meant to be someone that you feel is capable. Mm-hmm. As opposed to someone like Lara Croft, who's like, no, she's, like, you feel at the end of the movie that only she can save the world. There's no one else. Alex West can't do it. no one else. It's going to be her. And there's differences there.
Yeah, that's a really good point, for sure.
Plus, a woman was on the writing team, Sarah B. Cooper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so points for that, for sure. So that maybe is part of it, too, which is always nice. To include women in a story that the women is the lead. Isn't that a fantastical notion?
What?
So consequences of the time travel, I think we kind of touched on this already, but it's...
I mean, considering that it destroyed the City of Light, it can be pretty dire.
It can, yeah,
and it
can
it's
kind
unstable.
It seems like almost it could be like a drug a little bit, that like you can use it and like maybe at first there aren't really big consequences, or maybe there are and you don't care or whatever, and it kind of snowballs. That's what I kind of took it to be, that they used it too much and that kind of destroyed the city. So be warned if you use it. We touched on scientific accuracy of the planets and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's just fantastical science stuff. I mean, it's not... People always think like, oh, when the sun and the earth are aligned with the center of the Milky Way galaxy, stuff will happen. It's like, no, that happens every year. It doesn't mean anything. It's just, there's no difference at all. Like the sun, I don't know. It's just,
Mercury's
it's all
in retrograde.
Yeah, that means nothing. So it's just all, it's just all astrology stuff. But again, I didn't mind it because it's a fantasy movie, so it's like...
And the Illuminati was there. Yeah. It was like, there's these things that kind of lend themselves to each other.
If that's going to be the basis for your fantasy, I'm on board, because I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I can be like, okay, this is fantasy using these things that I like. They didn't throw in weird other stuff. It was like, here's the planets, and it makes this weird time.
There's no attempt to be realistic, and then all of a sudden use magic at the end to be like, well, here's the magic to fill the science gaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Cool. So relevance to the story, we kind of talked about this in the beginning as well, but they do kind of at least talk about it. The time travel isn't used a lot, but they do talk about this triangle of light that has the power to control time throughout the movie, and that is the goal that they're trying to get that. So I'd say it's somewhat relevant to the story for the most part, more than other movies we've done for sure. Clothes and sets, it's cool. The tombs are pretty cool.
Yeah.
The sets are pretty great. I think they shot it in Cambodia, it seemed.
Yeah, it was interesting because the first scene when she's finding the robot, it's a studio. Like, something's a little bit off. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not a real temple, but like, by the time when you realize it's like actually her training, you're like, oh, cool. And when she's actually in the temple, it feels like it's in a real temple. So it wasn't just like they reused the same kind of set. That one, like, it looked intentionally different from like a real temple that they were later in.
Yeah, which was definitely appreciated, I'd say. Would you guys want to experience this time travel using the Triangle of Light to go, I guess, wherever you wanted?
I mean,
sure, I
guess. I mean, it could destroy you, but, I mean, it's pretty cool.
Just once.
Yeah, I'll do it once and then destroy it.
Yeah.
Once and then shoot it with my double pistols.
One and done, yeah.
Just say I did.
Okay, yeah, I'm into that. Any other notes you guys had that we didn't talk about already?
I did think it was, I guess it was more supernatural stuff, but she saw and talked to ghost kids. Like, when she first went to the first temple, she saw kids running around. They, like, showed her where the entrance was. In Siberia, the kid talked to her, then she looked away and it disappeared. So it either could have been
like... It looked like the same kid, to be honest.
It might have been, yeah.
A little bit.
But yeah, I got the feeling that they weren't really there, like, or there was some supernatural thing that was reaching out to her.
Maybe it was, like, an effect of her using the triangle later, of it coming back in her past somehow?
Yeah, like the people of light.
They helped to... Like the people of light helped her to guide her to the places of the triangle, because those were the two places that she saw them.
Yeah.
That would make sense. I mean, supernatural themes in all the Tomb Raider. I haven't played every single Tomb Raider game, but I definitely played the majority of them that have been made.
Okay.
And supernatural themes are in all of the games, pretty much all of them. The new game takes a much more gritty, neo-realistic view where she's not an adventurer yet, it's an origin story, and it's her first time experiencing supernatural forces.
Yeah, but I thought, like, the villain is building towards some supernatural goal.
Yeah.
Right? Like some weird power that they're trying to gain or something like that.
It's usually almost that. She's either fighting some sort of demigod or, like, spirit or, like, some sort of, like, supernatural force, usually by the end.
Cool. Okay, final reviews. Hyde, why don't you start?
Okay, movie review. This is a movie that has surprisingly aged pretty well. It's still like that very late 90s, early 2000s corniness to it, cheesiness to it, but it's aware of that, and it embraces it, and I think that makes it stand the test of time. Angelina Jolie is a good actress, as is Daniel Craig and Jon Voight. And all these actors are actually pretty solid.
Yeah, it's pretty high caliber.
They all are having fun, and that makes me have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And they, you know, the sound effects, some of the goofy sound effects they do, and like little scenes, they know that like, hey, okay, we know what kind of movie this is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not perfect. I definitely think there's a few things they could have done. But I'm kind of with Roger Ebert. I looked up his review of the film afterwards, and he gave it 3 out of 4 stars. And he's like, because, you know, at the end of the day, it's just a fun movie. There's nothing like, why wouldn't you like having fun like this? So I'm going to give it like a 6.5 out of 10.
Okay.
You know, it's like, it's strong, and it's lasted over 15 years.
Yeah, that's actually pretty much where I'm at. I was thinking, for me, 7 out of 10
Nice.
for the movie. I agree. I think it's something that is rewatchable. Obviously not like all the time, but every so often to rewatch it again is fun. It still holds up. There's a little bit of comedy in there, and there's good action, and the story is interesting enough to captivate you for an hour and a half. I like her as a strong female lead. There's a little bit of romance with Daniel Craig, but I ain't hating because he's awesome and they're great together. I'm not hating on that, but
yeah, especially if it's like Lara Croft and James Bond. If
yeah,
those two
it's
characters
pretty much,
got together.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And I really like him in this movie. He's great when, I mean, I like him as James Bond too, but like he's also great when he's kind of like a sidekicky, sort of like not the main character, but he does a good job like being in a few scenes and like snarky comments, and like he's also cool and whatever. So I like this movie. I'd watch it again. She's a great female lead, and she does a great job, and the acting is better than what this movie maybe deserved. Like not in a mean way, but like, you know, just kind of
She elevated it.
Yeah, they all kind of did. She did for sure, and they all kind of did. So 7 out of 10 for the movie for me.
Yeah, same points that you guys mentioned. Same reasons I like it. I mean, as far as a video game movie goes, like this is really on the really good side of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
There aren't many that could stand with her with this movie, but you know, I enjoyed it. So I agree with you, Jen. I'll give it a 7 out of 10.
Would you rewatch it?
Sure, yeah.
Cool.
She's like, 'cause we're watching it now.
We're watching it again right now. No. Time travel rating?
Time travel is interesting. This is a difficult one to do a time travel one.
Yeah.
It doesn't break its rules, which is always a plus. It never breaks its time travel rule, even though they only time travel really once. But it never does anything that makes you say, well, wait a second. But if that's how it happens, then, you know, there's no moment like that. And the whole movie's building towards the time travel. Like, it really makes time travel a powerful force in the universe. That being said, it's not like they do a ton of time travel, and, you know, time travel is still used to solve problems, which is, you know, good and bad depending on how you look at it. So I'll give it, like, a little, almost middle of the road, like a 4.5 out of 10. You know, like, just almost there. Maybe if they used it a little bit more, I would have, or seen some more consequences of it, I might give it a higher grade, 4.5.
Yeah, I agree with you again. I'm going to do a 4 out of 10 for the time travel for me, because I agree. I like that they build up towards it through the movie, but it isn't utilized enough. It did get a few points because I do like that we were able to speculate more beyond what they showed us using their rules and some of the things that they established. I like being able to do that, but you also have to take points away in that sense because they didn't actually do that ton with it that they could have. So I do wish we could have seen a little bit more, but it solves a problem, but it's, you know, it's not the biggest thing. I felt like she learned how to move on from, you know, her father's not going to come back, and she has a little bit more closure than maybe she had before. So I think in that sense it did achieve its purpose. So yeah, 4 out of 10 for the time travel for me.
Yeah, I think so. I agree as well, because, you know, science aside, which of course this movie is fantasy, so I'm going to, you know, think about it that way. It definitely did some fun things. You know, I always like thinking about, you know, conspiracy theories, Illuminati, and weird space things that aren't true. You know, like I love Ancient Aliens. Not that this is an Ancient Alien plot, but like where I know it's not real, but I like using these elements that I like to make this weird fantasy almost sci-fi-ish kind of scenario. But yeah, I agree. I think the fact that we can like build this causal logic of her visiting her father and then him leaving the clues for her, I definitely think that earned a point for me as I was sitting here talking about it. So I will end up at a 4 as well.
Cool. So the Rotten Tomatoes, this movie is only at 20% on Rotten Tomatoes, but again, it did come out 16 years ago, so I could see how critics reviewing it maybe belatedly would be a little bit more harsh, but I don't know. I mean, it's an action movie, and we take it for what it is instead of like a, Oscar movie or something. But
right.
Critics' consensus says, Angelina Jolie is perfect for the role of Lara Croft, but even she can't save the movie from a senseless plot and action sequences with no emotional impact. I disagree.
It's a pretty harsh review.
It's pretty harsh.
Yeah.
I don't think the plot is senseless. I think there are times when maybe it could be, but I think it does drive towards finding this triangle, and I do think there is some emotion because she is trying to, connect with her father again. So I disagree personally, but
they're always pretty hard on video game movie adaptations too.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of these reviews look like they came out like a few years, not all of them, but some of them like years after this movie. So I don't know, whatever, who cares? So our next movie is back to Hyde's choice. What did you pick?
I chose Kim Possible. A Stitch in Time came out in 2003. It's a Disney Channel original movie, which was really just an extended, but I think it was like 2 or 3 episodes combined into one special night.
Yeah, for an hour 6. Yeah, it's 23 minutes is the normal.
Yeah,
22 minutes is the normal episode. Like.
Yeah. So it was 3 episodes combined into one storyline.
And the description says, the new school year starts off terrible for Kim. In her ordinary life, her best friend is moving away, and in her heroic crime-fighting life, 3 of the most notorious villains in her world plan to use time travel as a weapon against her. So it's actually, it's kind of fun because they use this time travel to go back to her past and like try and change things and give, change her memories and whatever. So I think it is like pretty evolved time travel. It is a kids movie. It's only in an hour 6, so we'll see. But
this should be a fun one because I haven't watched Kim Possible in a long time.
I managed to catch this movie somewhat recently, maybe a couple years ago or so, and made sure to add it on our list. So that'll be fun. I don't know. It might be on Amazon or something, but yeah, hopefully there's some Kim Possible fans that cross over. It'll be a fun episode regardless. So our social media, we are at Time Travel Trio on Twitter and on Instagram, and we are the Time Travel Trio podcast on Facebook. And we are also, of course, on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. If you find us on iTunes, please rate and review us. And if you do, we will make up a fun time travel story about you and would love to do that. So please rate us. Personal, I am at Jen Marlis on Twitter and on Instagram if you'd like to follow me.
I'm at Foreman in Space.
I'm at Robinson is Hyde.
And
with that,
we are out of
time.